Welcome back to another episode of P-Valley. So there is a lot to cover, but this week's episode was filmed a little different or focused a little different. We're only going to be talking about Miss M. Crooked letter, Miss Mississippi. Okay, we're going to be talking about Miss Keyshawn, who, let's be honest, she is very much giving main character. She's been giving main character energy all season long. I've done at least 2 of her looks since I started recapping the show. The opening scene, we actually hear a very, very familiar voice. And to be honest, I'm going to need Miss Joseline Hernandez to run me my coin because I manifested her being on the show. Literally in I think episode 2 recap, I said that I think that she would do amazing on P-Valley, and then they shock me by actually having her on the show. What? I am so freaking happy for Joseline. I said, I know that's right. You better get your acting on. So that was a nice little surprise. So basically in this episode, or in the opening scene, Keyshawn is in the back room, the locker room, getting ready for that night. And Rome is on the phone with somebody, basically securing Keyshawn another deal. So when he gets off the phone, he tells her he basically just secured her a lace front line and that her pretty little mug is going to be all over the place. So she's all excited because obviously if she has another deal like this is a huge deal. This means that her stock is going up. Her bank account is about to increase, okay? So she is really excited about this. Rome actually says that the company that she is going to be going ahead and having a line with actually sent some wigs over for her to try for the first time. So he shows her a bunch of wigs and she doesn't like any of them. She's like, ghetto. Y'all know she bougie. So she's not feeling the wig situation. Uncle Clifford is narrating the whole episode. So he says that Keyshawn must remember Uncle Clifford's rule number, I think 934, which is about sometimes you gotta rock a synthetic human hair blend wig, but just make sure that the wig don't rock you. She doesn't like any of the wigs, but there's this 613 blonde wig at the end, and Rome is like to her, how about you try this one? And he takes it. She's hesitant to try it because it is 613 blonde. Not everybody can rock a 613 blonde, okay? You have to have supreme confidence to rock the 613 blonde. So he takes it, he's standing with her in the mirror, and she says she doesn't think it goes with her skin tone. And I'm thinking the complete opposite. Like, ma'am, this is it, okay? I love me a 613. I think she obviously has or struggles with I'm dark skin complex. So she doesn't want to wear the 613 blonde wig. But Rome is basically encouraging her. He slips it on over her cornrows. He tells her that everything goes with her little sexy chocolate self. At this time, Rome is actually telling her that after tomorrow night, there's another 2 weeks of the tour. And Keyshawn gets stressed out right away because it's only supposed to be 1 more week. And she's like, I cannot do another 2 weeks. I need to get home. And so he starts telling her, like, don't worry. I already handled it with your little Justin Bieber. So he's basically telling her, like, don't trip. And she's saying she needs to get home. Rome then tells her, no, what she needs to do is get this mother effing money, and that so that she never has to go home. And then he says, I'm going to get you out. And so at that point, I'm thinking he was referring to get her out of her abusive situation, because obviously he knows something's up with Justin Bieber. But Keyshawn has children, so she needs to go home. She does. She obviously misses her kids. This is hard that she's been on the road for this long and not seeing her kids. Like, I couldn't even imagine being away from my kids for that long. Like, that's crazy. But Rome is, telling her she has another 2 weeks of tour. So she is stressed out right now. Club Lil Murda and Big T Couple of the Year award. They are sitting at a booth and a bottle girl comes over and drops off a bottle and says compliments of Blue Guap Empire. As she leaves, they kind of get to bickering. Lil Murda is a little jealous of Keyshawn right now and he's wanting to participate in Mississippi Pride Night, but he wasn't invited to. And he starts saying how his song samples, I guess, a Mississippi artist. So him and Big Teak get to bickering or having slight banter. And at that time, Rome appears and he's like, y'all fools still arguing? And they both stop bickering and they're like, ain't nobody arguing. Honestly, if they don't stop carrying on this way in front of company, they are going to be found out. So Murda says to Rome, I don't know why you couldn't hook me up tonight. And Rome is like, nigga, it's Miss Mississippi night, not murder night, okay? And then Lil Murda's like, nigga, I know what night it is. And all of a sudden you hear Joseline's voice. Joseline's voice comes up on the loudspeaker, girl, and she introduces herself as such. She says, it's Joseline. What I found interesting is that they actually made her do a voiceover. In this scene, she's not actually acting with her voice. They put a voiceover probably because she was having trouble enunciating things. So they made her pre-record it and then they made her mouth over the track. So Joseline shouts out all of the strippers that paved the way. Gigi McGuire, Jessica Dime, who she would probably actually call Dime Penny in real life, and Miami Tip. And she shouts them out and says she's giving them all their flowers tonight. And then she starts dancing to Do It Like It's My B-Day, baby. First of all, that song deserves to be on Billboard, period. Shout out to Joseline one time. So Joseline looks amazing. She's dancing on the pool. Money is flying everywhere. I hope that my makeup's not disappearing because it's blue, because there is some green in there, but when you have a green screen, you can't really mess with green too much, so hopefully my makeup is staying put. So Joseline then starts shouting out. There's some new strippers that are doing their thing, and they're doing things that the old strippers never even dreamt of doing, and so she introduces to the stage Miss Mississippi. So Mississippi gets on stage and she gets to twirling. She gets to spinning a pole. The crowd is in amazement and awe of her. So Uncle Clifford, because he's narrating, he starts saying that Mississippi is a legend in her own right, but legends are not born, they're built. So before we know where she's headed to or going, we got to know where she came from. And so this episode is going to be taking us all the way back to Mrs. Mississippi's early days. So they take us back to when Miss Mississippi was in high school. Gidget and Mrs. Mississippi actually grew up together. So we also see Gidget as a teenager here, and it appears that Gidget was on cheer squad and Mrs. Mississippi was trying out. In this scene, they have Keyshawn in a busted, when I say busted, I mean busted. It was busted and bulky, okay? They have her in this very busted wig. Horrible. It is horrible. And she's low-key struggling during her cheer audition. And so in this scene, we also get introduced to one of her stepsisters. So when she falls, a white boy approaches her and asks her if she wants to try it again. And she declines. She says no. Obviously, this is the white boy that she ends up falling for. We can say that Derek is her quote-unquote high school sweetheart. So Mrs. Mississippi's stepsister, her name is Alicia. She's lighter skinned, and she basically tells Gidget that she wants to try, I think, the same thing that her sister just tried, where she wants to do a class 5. Girl, I don't know nothing about no damn cheerleading, so I can't tell you what move she was attempting to do. But apparently the move that she was attempting to do was not something for no newbies, okay? So it turns that she's actually pretty good at the move. And so Gidget at the time turned to Keyshawn and she was like, your sister's pretty good. Keyshawn was like, step-sister. In other words, I ain't claiming that girl. So make sure you put the step in front of sister. So after tryouts, Keyshawn is sitting on a bench and a black guy approaches her. A dark-skinned boy approaches her and he asks her name. He calls her Lil Mama, but he is asking her name and, you know, saying like, hey, you're the girl that transferred in from the other school. But she's not responding to him and she's not telling him her name. And so he starts insulting her and telling her she's best to stay out the sun anyway because she already is burnt. He bullies her and tells her that she looks like a burnt chicken nugget. But weren't you just trying to get my name, sir? Weren't you just trying to get my name? So now all of a sudden I look like a burnt chicken nugget? Please. So at this point, Keyshawn is not responding to this guy at all, even though he's being very rude to her. She doesn't engage him, and Derek comes with his savior complex and tells the guys to leave her alone. So this is a white man having to tell two black men to leave another black woman alone. It's actually embarrassing, especially because they're bothering her for her skin color or her skin tone, and they're the same color as her. Please make it make sense. So Derek tells them that they ought to have some respect. They're not trying to hear it though. They start conflict with him. So then they start picking with Derek and they think he's a punk. They ask him what he's gonna do, or the antagonist here, the one black guy, ask him what the hell he's gonna do about it. And they also call him out for turning red and say that he's scared. Little do they know, Derek is a little cray-cray. So Derek tries to walk away. The black boy that is antagonizing Keyshawn and now antagonizing Derek, he spits on Derek as Derek's walking away. And I was like, first of all, none of this was necessary to begin with, but he just took it to a whole other freaking dimension. Forget level, dimension. Because Derek hadn't said anything wrong. So Derek turns around, wipes the spit off the back of his neck, and he tackles the guy to the ground and starts beating him, as he should have. And then the guy's getting his ass beat and he starts talking to his football teammates saying like, so y'all not gonna help me. So two teammates run over to try to help him, and Derek ends up whooping their asses too. And I said, this white boy didn't beat up three black kings. Well, they weren't kings, but like, it was a mess. This was the one time that I was completely okay with this. Any other situation, I would be upset. But they had come for Keyshawn. They deserve the ass beating they got. I'm so sorry. Keep in mind, the reason that these guys thought that they could pick on Derek was because Derek is on cheer squad. I don't know if they were assuming that he was gay because he's a cheerleader and he can't whoop some ass, but they had the game effed up. He actually needs to be recruited for the football team because he tackled them like he was one of their teammates. Cheer team announced or put the card out to say who made the squad. Keyshawn was not on there, but her sister was. So as you can imagine, she was a little sad about that. So Keyshawn's in the hallway looking defeated. Her sister or her stepsister says to her, sorry sis, like sorry that you didn't make it. And then Derek actually comes up to her and he tells her, you should have just tried that stunt again. That's probably why she didn't make it, is what he's saying to her. Keyshawn says like even if she did try that stunt again, she wouldn't have been able to stick it, so that's why she didn't bother. She says her feet are too big, and he says to her that he can hold a 7.5 in the palm of his hand any day. He tells her, well, there's always next year. He's just trying to encourage her, but she then says, what's the use? You would have been graduated by then. So I guess she's trying to tell him like if he's not still at school and he's not on the team, then she ain't trying to be on the team either. I said, ma'am, baby boy, why you tripping on me? So the three boys that he had fought earlier came, I guess, out of the office. Keyshawn turns her head, and her and Derek are looking down the hall in their direction. And the main guy that got beat up says, "What the F are you looking at?" So Keyshawn asks Derek, did they get detention? And he says, no, they got suspended. No homecoming game for them. So obviously they're big mad. And so she's like, so what about you? Didn't you start it? And he's like, no, I finished it. And that's how, okay, Derek. Okay. Living life with Derek. Living life with Derek. Real ones know. So Derek turns to leave and he stops in his tracks and it's all dramatic. And he's like, and I don't know what those guys were talking about because you're nowhere near through, if you ask me, because the guys were trying to say that Keyshawn was through. He's trying to give Keyshawn her flowers, I guess, and tell her like, girl, you look good. Okay, that's what Derek is trying to affirm Keyshawn with in this moment. And I'm like, all right, Derek. So Uncle Clifford starts narrating at this point, and he's saying that she didn't think that she would find her Prince Charming like this, and that she didn't really think she would find a Prince Charming at all, because if you let Miss Mississippi stepmama tell it, her purpose was to serve the pretty. So very much giving Cinderella vibes. They show Miss Mississippi at home at her stepmom and father's house. She's doing her sister's hair. So this was a chore that her stepmother had entrusted her with to do her two daughters' hair. Now she was doing it because she thought that she thought that Miss Mississippi didn't like to do hair, but Miss Mississippi actually quite enjoyed doing their hair. So now we see Miss Mississippi's stepmom, and she comes and she's like talking to her daughters, saying how they have so much to do and she needs an assistant to keep up with all of their stuff, and that raising two girls is a lot or exhausting. And so Miss Mississippi corrects her and she's like, 3. You got 3 daughters now. And I said, I know that's right. Yeah, call her out, because why did she do that? Why is she excluding her stepdaughter? So they're just having casual conversation in the kitchen. They're inquiring about when Keyshawn's dad's going to come back from his business trip. And the stepmom says, right on time for the pageant. So as Keyshawn is doing the younger sister's hair, all of a sudden it starts sizzling. And the girl's hair is like burning off in the curling iron, and her hair is so long, like it's giving Rapunzel. And this mother is so overbearing and problematic, and her daughters know it. And the mom starts freaking out about Keyshawn burning off the girl's hair, and she is calling Keyshawn Delilah. If you know your Bible, then you know exactly why she's saying this. She basically is yelling at Keyshawn for taking away her daughter's strength. Like, you're being so dramatic, ma'am. Obviously, it is problematic that the hair is burnt off, but it's not Keyshawn's fault that the hair burnt off. Secondly, the mother then says that this is like the one thing that makes her daughter beautiful. And I'm like, oh my God. So Keyshawn is trying to rectify the situation. She's like, I can fix it, like maybe like a quick weave. And then the mom is like, unlike you, she don't need no damn weave. And I was like, oh, problematic. This woman needs to be slapped. So the stepmom dismisses Keyshawn, and I was like so heartbroken for Keyshawn in this moment, and even for the daughter, because how could you sit there and say that this is the one thing that makes your daughter beautiful? So if she's bald-headed, she gonna be ugly? Like, what? That's why daughters, I don't think they really like their mom. So at this point, we are now focused on Alicia. So it's lunchtime at the school, and a guy actually asked Alicia if she wants to come to their dance, which is called the Mistletoe. And so the younger sister actually starts talking about how ever since more Black people started to populate the high school in Chucalissa, the white parents have been holding a separate dance for their white kids on somebody's plantation. And I said, She's talking all this mess, and then Alicia asked her, where are you getting your information from? Like, shut up. And she says she got it from the bathroom on the 3rd floor. And it also says there that she gives the best head. Keyshawn tells Alicia that that's a compliment. Alicia turns down everybody that asks her to go to this dance. And they tell her she's going to go alone. And then Gidget chimes in and says she's not going to the dance either, because they're going to make fun of her TJ Maxx dress because all the white kids at the school are privileged. And she actually mentions Derek at this time and says if he is, I can't remember what she said to him or what he said to her, but she said if he says something insulting to her one more time, she's gonna cut, I think, his balls off and put them in and feed them to the alligators in the swamp water or something like that. Okay, I'm gossiping at this point because I really don't remember what she said. So the dynamic between the two sisters and Keyshawn is that the sisters are always fighting with each other. Sorry, I'm putting my nails on, that's why I'm looking down. The sisters are always fighting with each other. So because they're always fighting with each other, they don't really have time to pick on Keyshawn. So they actually get along with Keyshawn more than they get along with each other. So Keyshawn is actually walking home from school and it's raining, so she's using her books to cover her head. And Derek happens to be driving by and he tells her to get into his car and he'll take her home. And she's like hesitant at first because, well, he's white, she's black, she doesn't really know him, but her hair's getting wet, child. She gonna get in that car. Okay, so Keyshawn says to Derek, what if I don't want to go home? And they end up at a diner. He's telling her, I guess, his life story, sharing with her that his dad originally thought he was gay. But the truth was, he just liked him some chocolate, okay? They're chopping it up at the diner, and the waitress basically tells Keyshawn to order up, honey, because she's on a date with a white boy who clearly has money. So she's telling her to make sure she orders a whole bunch of things because the white boy can afford it. So Derek is coming from money, okay? He has money. He tells Keyshawn that he is getting a cheer scholarship at a college. She says, oh wow, so you don't have to pay for college. And he's like, well, we can afford it, like my family can afford it, but I don't want my parents to have to worry about it, so I'm just gonna take a scholarship so that they don't have to spend our money. And I said, must be damn nice, okay? Must be nice. Some people have to work hard for their coin. Some people can't afford to pay for school. So he can afford to pay for school and he's getting scholarships. And so he's taking a scholarship when he doesn't need one. Like, he can afford to pay for school. Let that scholarship go to somebody that needs one. But I digress. So Derek actually has like a crazy bruise by his eye. He tells Keyshawn how it occurred. The bruise is actually there from his crazy daddy. Derek learned his abuse from somewhere, right? That being said, she touches the bruise on his eye after, of course, asking his permission. She suggests to him that he should wear makeup on it to cover it up. And I'm thinking, girl, this man's daddy already think he gay. I don't think he needs to be putting no damn makeup on to cover up his damn bruise. Because his dad would surely throw a fit. So when the waitress is there suggesting to her that she orders more food than just another order of bacon fries, the waitress refers to their outing as a date, and Keyshawn's like, it's not a date. And he actually is a little stunned because I think in his mind it was a date, but at the same time he didn't feel like it was appropriate for a date. So once the waitress leaves, Keyshawn asks him if it's a date, and he says, well, I wouldn't exactly take you to this diner, so Taffy's, as a first date. Basically telling her, but I am gonna take you on a date now. Don't you ever get it twisted. We are going on a date, my chocolate queen. So she asks him where he would take her on a first date, and he tells her maybe like to go eat snow cones downtown. He says maybe dinner on a riverboat. And then she looks over her shoulder and she sees all these black people sitting at the diner, and like black people with black dates, you know, and it kind of brings her back into a sort of reality where she realizes like these two really can't be a thing in Mississippi. Mississippi probably to this day wants to be segregated. So there's that. So she actually then asks for him to take her home. He looks defeated and he then tries to change the subject, and he's like, sucks that you didn't make the team this year. And she's like, yeah, because then she's like, now you can't look up my skirt as planned. And she has a little smirk on her face, and they both are smirking, and then the scene ends. So it's Christmas time, and now we're at the house, and the girls have to put the Christmas tree up for James, Keyshawn's dad, gets home. And so the girls are talking about who's inviting them to homecoming or the mistletoe dance. The girls then ask their mother, you never told us how James wooed you. So the mom starts going on about how it was like almost like love at first sight, and it was simple and blah blah blah, and how it was like instant. So the mom starts telling the story about all she had to do for James to start wooing her was she served him a drink on the plane. He was on a flight and she served him a drink. And so Keyshawn then starts saying, well, you're leaving a major part of the story out. And she's like, you're forgetting the part where you served his wife a drink on the plane first. I said, oh, the tea is piping freaking hot. It's hot. Could you imagine? Could you freaking imagine? So when Keyshawn spills this tea, her stepsisters gasp because they're like, oh, well, we weren't expecting that. We should have kept our mouths closed asking these kinds of questions on Christmas now. The stepmom says to Keyshawn that one day she'll understand, but her perspective is off. Keyshawn's like, I know it wasn't no effing fairy tale. And so the stepmom turns around and starts approaching Keyshawn, and she's like, excuse me? And she's like, the movie that you have in your head is missing a few scenes. I said, Keyshawn is reading her down, okay, for film, as she should. She tells Keyshawn, you don't know everything. And Keyshawn's like, I know that you're a home wrecker turned homemaker. I said, she is letting this woman have it. She is letting her have it. Keyshawn been waiting. She been waiting to drop this bomb because it's flowing out of her mouth so smoothly. It's almost like she was counting the days, honey, before she could say something about her mom and dad having to split up, and now her dad is in a whole new relationship with the woman that they met on the airplane. So the stepmom tells Keyshawn to go upstairs to her room. And Keyshawn's like, but I was just telling the truth. The mom throws like mashed potatoes or something at Keyshawn and whips it in her face. So Keyshawn's now dirty and she has no choice but to go upstairs. But the mom does that, and the sisters are over there like, Mom, like, what are you doing? So they're calling us to their mom. Keyshawn is like, I know I may look bougie, but I will bust out a Beretta real quick. I said, oh, not the Beretta, child. Okay, it's giving Jay-Z. So then the stepmom is like, see, you're just like your mama, and that is exactly why your dad left her. I said, oh, hell no. Now you over here calling my mother ghetto. What are you saying? Listen, this lady needs to be dragged physically. Keyshawn was dragging her with her words. She needs to jump across the table and choke her. Keyshawn then picks up some thing that was on the table, and she whips it at the stepmom and calls her a bitch. And then the next scene we see Keyshawn is in her room hugging a teddy bear. The sound is muffled, but you can hear that James's wife is telling James what happened while he was gone, and you hear her talking about a Beretta. She's yelling. She's very, very irate about the altercation that she had with Keyshawn. And Keyshawn is just listening from her bedroom. So from this scene, we jump back to present day, and we see Keyshawn is handing the former strippers some lashes, and she's like, make sure you tag me when you wear them. Then Joseline, the Joseline Hernandez, the Joseline that I manifested into the show. Not the show was already filmed. So then we hear Joseline coming in the room, and she's about to have a talk with Keyshawn. So Joseline's wearing this red outfit, and she comes in with those two money guns, and she's shooting the guns, and money's flying everywhere. Keyshawn is dancing. The money is raining on her. It's giving dramatic, okay? And I was living for it. So in the conversation that Joseline is having with Miss Mississippi, she basically tells her, the people are always going to view you as a hoe, but like our sister Cardi B says, a hoe ain't never cold, okay? A hoe never gets cold. She tells her that you're gonna go far. I see it in you. You're a star. She basically gives her the affirmations that she needs and gives her her card to get into her hotel suite. Miss Mississippi thought that Joseline wanted her to come and dance for her after the show, but Joseline tells her, no, a bad bitch just needs to have a talk with another bad bitch. That scene ends. We jump back into the house at Christmas time, but now it is the day of the school dance. Joseline in this episode is supposed to be Mrs. Mississippi's fairy godmother. So her stepsisters are ready to go to the dance. They're coming down the stairs, they're looking fly or whatever, and I guess their dates are there to pick them up so that they could go. So their dad or her dad and their mom are ready to take their pictures and stuff. And Mrs. Mississippi is just sat over there eating her curds and waves, okay? She is eating a bowl of like cereal or something while she's waiting for her sisters to go on their date. And so this is where I started to get bothered in the scene, because her dad was about to take a picture of the daughters and their dates, and then he stops, he hesitates, and he asks Keyshawn, like she's really Cinderella or something, to come and take the picture of all of them. Huh? He not even their dad. Like, why does he want to be in the picture with that? That's neither here nor there. He takes the camera off and gives it to Keyshawn. But this scene was uncomfortable because the stepmom is not in the photos. It's just the dad and the two daughters and their dates. And the dad goes in the middle between the two daughters, and then their dates are on the end. And so it seems as though the dad has an attraction to the prettier sister. So what was her name again? Child, I don't remember her name. Because the dad has an attraction to her, he like kisses her on the forehead, and you should see her face. She is uncomfortable, and he's holding on her waist and pulling her in closer. And I'm wondering if we're gonna find out later on that he did something to this girl. I pray that is not the case. Her name's Alicia. Alicia was physically uncomfortable with Keyshawn's father. And you could see when Keyshawn was taking the photo that Keyshawn could tell something was wrong there. Next thing you know, OT Genesis is playing in the background, or about to play in the background, and this is why I say they always have the right song for the moment. Her stepmom says Keyshawn. Keyshawn looks over her shoulder, and who is standing there but Mother Evan, Derek? They're playing I'm in love with the Coco, and I'm like, I cannot. I can't with P-Valley right now. I just can't. Derek shows up to Keyshawn's house with a whole outfit for her, shoes for her, and he's in his suit and tie. I be on my suit and tie. Okay, he's in his suit and tie, and he's ready to take her to the freaking dance. He didn't even ask her. Like, everybody's stunned. Everybody is stunned. The dad is stunned. The dates are stunned. The girls are stunned. The mama is walking off of the set. Okay, everybody's stunned at the fact that this boy is showing up with these outfits. Everybody thought that Keyshawn was not going to go anywhere tonight, but Keyshawn was about to be the belle of the ball. So then they pan to upstairs, and Keyshawn is literally doing sit-ups trying to lose 10 pounds to fit in the dress that Derek brought her. She's searching throughout her room for like Spanx, so she gets dressed, and the dress fits her like a glove, okay, and her shoes are perfect, and she's ready to go. So she shows up at this dance with Derek, but Derek didn't bring her to the school dance. He brought her to the other dance that LaRonica was telling the girls about. He brought her to the white kids dance. So she was the only black girl in the building. And when she was coming down those stairs floating like a freaking butterfly on Derek's arm, the people were gagged. They were like, what is this Negro doing here? Did she not know this is an all-white party? I was dying. I'm like, oh, she looked amazing. She looked like a queen. And everybody's looking like, why is this nigger in the building? And I was like, she came through and showed you guys how to season your food. It was giving flavor. The dance floor kind of clears out, and her and Derek are on the dance floor. And then they pan to the school, and you see that's where all the black kids are. Gidget did end up going to the dance. She had a black date with her, of course. That was a given. But she went to the dance with LaRonica and Alicia. They kept panning between the white dance and the black dance. And at the black dance, there was all kinds of twerking, booty shaking, gyrating, and then when they would go to the white dance, it was very much giving. They just weren't doing anything. They weren't saying anything. They were doing like the waltz. And it was two completely different worlds. Then we see Keyshawn and Derek like face to face, like they were about to make out, and then you see some white lady walking and looking, ice grilling them like, no, you're not about to do that up in here, okay? Y'all better go somewhere else with that interracial love stuff. We is not doing that in here. They notice her, so they stop doing what they're doing and they leave the building. Keyshawn says something about the lady, and Derek says, oh yeah, that is the lady that runs the event every year. She's in charge of the event. She's also my mama. I said, oh, child. I had a feeling it was his mom, and he confirmed it, and I was like, there's no surprise there, okay? So as he's talking about mom, he brings up his dad as well, because he says his mom is all bark, no bite, but then he says, but my dad, on the other hand, he has a bite that makes you wish it was a bark. And so Keyshawn looks at him and says, you didn't get that bruise from practice, did you? And he says no. And so this is the confirmation that his dad is beating on him at home. It is Mississippi. Mississippi is in the South. And all of a sudden it starts snowing, child. I said, oh, it snows in Mississippi? No, it doesn't usually snow in Mississippi, but they got snow this year at the mistletoe party, and it was just like epic for them. They've never seen snow, or they have seen snow before, but like it's just really unlikely that it would snow. So Keyshawn and Derek are like in awe of the snow. Keyshawn is like a little girl in the snow, and she's twirling. She has her tongue out. I'm like, Chad, I live in Canada. Ain't nobody doing that. Okay, we are not doing that. When it snows, we is locked up in our house, okay, if we can be. But she is so happy. Derek is like, Keyshawn, get in the car. Like, your dad's gonna kill me if I bring you back home late. And she's like, how often does it snow? Blah, blah, blah. She's not trying to go home. They end up knocking boots in the car, okay? She loses her virginity this night to this white boy. This would later be problematic, but she ends up getting home pretty late, and she tries to sneak in, and her mom is downstairs, or her stepmom is downstairs having a cigarette on the couch. When Keyshawn notices that the stepmom is sitting there, she's like apologizing to her for coming home late. And then the stepmom is telling her like, you are actually the earliest of all three girls, so you're the good daughter tonight. I said, what is wrong with this lady? And why is she ranking the daughters good to bad? Like, what's happening? She actually tells her she'll do her a favor and not tell her dad that she was late. But the mom was looking a little disturbed. So she walks away to go upstairs to her bed, I guess. And her stepmom says to her, everything fit you like it was custom. Keyshawn turns around and she pauses a second, and she says she knows. And then the stepmom says, but she didn't get to pick. And she then says, be careful about becoming a man's Barbie doll, because he will always find another one to buy. And I said, ooh, child. That's why she sat over there looking defeated. James is out there cheating, and I knew he was. From the time they said business trip, girl, I knew he had another lady or two out there somewhere. You lose them how you get them. So you thought you were serving him drinks on a plane and it was love at first sight, but he was with his wife. Now look at you, ma'am. Now look at you. Now you have to put up with all the stuff that she was putting up with. Good luck to you. Like, you deserve it, period. But of course, because of Miss Mississippi, because of Keyshawn's upbringing, or because she always wanted to be a trophy of sorts, she was attracted to that lifestyle. So she wasn't going to listen to her stepmom regardless. If Derek was going to make this lady a Barbie doll, that's what she was going to be. So now we are back at the hotel in present day, and Mercedes just had a fantastic Miss Mississippi night. So Lil Murda, Big T, Wody, and Miss Mississippi are in the room having a nice slow-mo. Okay, it's giving Love and Hip Hop. Money is all over the floor. Keyshawn is doing like snow angels in all the money that's on the floor, and they're just having a good old time. This time, Wody is the murderer, so he winks at Keyshawn, and she ends up falling to a very dramatic death. So Wody had actually missed the show because Keyshawn had told him earlier in the day not to eat the gas station potato salad, and he didn't listen, and so he had bubble guts, I guess, and he didn't get to come with them to Miss Mississippi night, so he missed it. But the guys are basically telling him like he wishes that they could have seen it. And so I just have to say, I've been looking at Lil Murda like since like season 1 and paying so much attention to him. I've been sleep on Wody. Okay, Wody is fine. Okay, I don't, he is so fine. And his voice, like everything, ooh, chow. Ooh, chow. So they start getting all excited about the second leg of the Dirty Dozen tour. Keyshawn looks over to Big Teak and she's like, you so quiet, like have a chocolate covered strawberry. And he says that he doesn't want one. And then Lil Murda says to Big Teak, nigga, you know you want one. And then Big Teak gets mad and he's like, nigga, I said I don't want one. And so this is when the episode starts getting a little crazy. So Big T gets up mumbling that Lil Murda needs to open his ears, and he walks out the room. Keyshawn looks at Wody, and on the screen it says, "Are these niggas effing?" And then Wody looks back at Keyshawn, and Wody says he thinks that they are. So they're having this conversation with their eyes. I said, wait a second, Wody knows? So Keyshawn asked Lil Murda if Big Teak is alright, and Lil Murda says no, he hasn't been alright in the Mississippi Minute. I'm like, well, why don't you elaborate, sir? Why don't you tell us why he's not alright, okay? Because you didn't put that thing on him, and then he caught you with the postcards. That's why he's upset. Lil Murda says he's gonna go see what's wrong with Big Teak, and then Wody, being very messy, because he knows, he says, you might just need to get him a bitch. And Lil Murda stops in his tracks, okay? And he looks and gives this death stare to Wody. And Wody's like, or not. But, like, Wody knew he was being messy. Like, sir, why are you saying that? You know they gay. He says, or not. And then Lil Murda walks and goes and finds out what's wrong with Big Teak. So Rome, who low-key kind of looks like John Legend, Rome comes into the room. Rome asks if they have the money ready yet, and he's very much giving pimp vibes. But he asks her, and she says almost. And then she says she'll have it ready for him in a minute. And he says, cool, when you get done, then we could slide over and go to Joseline's spot. Announces himself to Lil Murda. Lil Murda comes and says what's up or whatever. He gives him some keys to get into like a hotel room. And Lil Murda says that he's going to come to, I think, a party or come to Joseline's house. Like, it's just some party, okay? And Rome tells him no. Basically, he's not invited. And Lil Murda's like, what the hell? So Rome says he should be grateful that he even got him these nice rooms, because if it was up to Wody, they would be staying at the Super 8 in Conyers. Big Teak is like, where the hell is Conyers? Rome is like, exactly, nigga. And I'm like, don't do Big Wody like that now. Not I'm giving him a new name because he's fine. Don't do Wody like that, Rome. So Rome starts saying he's already done enough for them, because technically they're not his artists. They don't work for him. Only Keyshawn works with him. So basically he's saying he already overextended himself to them and he didn't have to. And so Big Teak is offended by this, and he snatches the key card out of Lil Murda's hand and tells Rome, we don't need no effing charity, and he throws it at him. And I'm like, Big Teak needs to get his emotions in check, because he's giving them away, because this is very much giving, we are a married couple and I am the wife. I'm not dealing with this. I'm speaking for my husband. If the waitress gets your husband's food wrong and your husband's too shy to say something about it, so you call out the waitress like, excuse me, he asked for Caesar salad, you guys brought him a garden salad? That's what it's giving right now. So he's like, we'll need your charity. Flings the keys at him. They need to put Teak back in jail. I'm sorry. So Lil Murda is telling Big Teak he needs to like chill. Like, what are you doing? Like, I want to stay at that hotel. And so Rome once again is in conflict with Big Teak and saying like, the mattress is obviously too good for you because you prefer prison cots and all these things. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I can't. So Rome pretty much gets ready to leave, and he calls Big Teak a broke ass nigga, and he tells Keyshawn when she's done messing with these lames to slide through so they can go to Joseline's. Once he closes the door behind him, Big Teak has an attitude. Not that he didn't have one before, but he has an attitude, and he's like, yo, F this nigga, okay? F him. I ain't got time. So Big Teak starts flying off the handle. He says he's gonna go lay down in the hearse. Lil Murda's trying to calm him down. Lil Murda chasing after him. Like, somebody's always having to chase after Big Teak. I can't with Big Teak, okay? I need Big Teak to go somewhere. Him and Jayla can go hang out together, because they're both very problematic at this point. So in the hotel room now, it's just Keyshawn and Wody. And Wody is very open and tells Keyshawn he does not like her hair because she has on the 613 blonde wig. And he's like, yeah, no. And then she's like, what the hell you just say to me? And he's like, I just prefer the hair that grows out your head. And I said, stay out of women's business, Wody. Stay out of women's business, okay? What you mean you like the hair? So then you wear it, sir. You wear it. So then the scene jumps back to when Keyshawn is now pregnant for Derek. She's seeming ungrateful because Derek's friend bought some stuff for the baby and she doesn't like the color, so she calls it ugly. And he tells her she's really hard to please these days. It's giving they're having some trouble in paradise. When you're pregnant, things can go left. Actually, I don't really understand because when I was pregnant, I was an angel baby, okay? Like, I always was pretty good where my spouse was concerned. Like, in my relationship, I wasn't a difficult pregnant person. I love being pregnant, so I wasn't, like, miserable. There was that one time at the restaurant where I was upset because I couldn't get a baked potato, but, like, that was just me being emotional. If people are sending you gifts, you have to be grateful. She's like, she's there talking about some damn persimmon. She wanted a specific color. The onesies had to be a specific color, and they got the wrong color, and now all hell is breaking loose. Ma'am, be grateful. Okay, so Derek says that his mom has been trying, and Keyshawn is like, yeah, now. And he's like, what the hell is that supposed to mean? And she explains that she didn't put no down payment on a duplex for them, but her dad did. I guess she's just saying, like, his Caucasian parents have not been supportive of their union, their relationship, their pregnancy, whatever the case is. So she says, I really just thought that your parents would have helped us way more than they have. Derek steps out of line completely and says, I knew I shouldn't have messed with you, and is very much giving racist. Keep in mind, on the TV, on the news, there's something about some white supremacy business going on, and I said, oh, how fitting. Derek says, ever since she saw you, my mom always said that you were a gold digger. And I'm like, Keyshawn is coming from money. What he talking about? So now the conversation goes completely left, and he tells her to shut the F up because she's calling out his mama for listening to Kanye West. And he tells her to shut the F up, and she's like, you will not tell me to shut the F up. And I'm like, where's this Miss Mississippi now? Because she is not handling Derek this way. He tells her he knew he should have never dipped his dick in the likes of her. At this point, I am heated. I'm like, what is going on? So then he's like, and because now I'm stuck taking care of you. She's like, you're taking care of me? I'm taking care of you. What is this? I mean, is she wrong? Because like she said, it was her dad that put the down payment down on the duplex for that. So she says that she's 8 months pregnant and she's working nights at Walgreens and that she's the one that's putting the food on the table. Why is he claiming that he's taking care of her? Stuck taking care of her. So you're telling me from the time this man is coming for money, and from the time that they were even pregnant, she was working. She worked at Walgreens, and then later on she became a stripper, obviously, and was still stuck taking care of him. Child. So then she's like, who the F is putting gas in your effing Prius? And he gets mad, and this is the first time I think he put his hands on her. He tried to choke her and murder her. He tried to kill her that night. Keep in mind, before this even went down, he called her a backwoods bitch. Like, sir. And then when he's choking her, he says to her, you should be paying for it, you effing B. You're the reason that my family kicked me out. Child. This was a lot. This was actually a lot. They did put a trigger warning in the beginning of the episode, I must say. When Clifford is narrating this scene, he says, like, the first time you wake up from your own death, you don't want to believe it. But a little part of Keyshawn died that night, and she had to die because this is the night that Mrs. Mississippi was born. So then the show jumps back to present day, and Mrs. Mississippi is going to Rome's hotel room to get him so that they can go to Joseline's spot. So when she gets to Rome's room, she hands him a bag full of the cash that he's owed, and he tells her he has some bad news for her, that the wig deal fell through. He couldn't work out things on like the back end or something like that. But he has something better because she's looking obviously sad. So he shows her a heel from Pleasers. Pleasers is an actual brand if you didn't know. And it's a Mrs. Mississippi heel. And she's disappointed. She's like, a stripper heel? Like, she doesn't want that. He's like, this is gonna be like your bread and butter. This is so good. So Keyshawn is basically saying like she's disappointed because wigs have more reach than stripper heels, which is true. Everybody can rock a wig. Not everybody can rock a stripper heel. Rome asked her to at least just try the shoe on. Keep in mind, Rome is supposed to be dressed to go to Joseline's. Rome is sat over here in a damn Versace damn robe like he is a part of Silk Sonic. So she's looking at the shoe on her foot because he put it on her like she's Cinderella. And that's really the theme of this episode, Cinderella. Rome says for her to go check out herself in the full-length mirror while he finishes getting dressed. So she's wearing her stripper outfit and she has the shoes on or whatever, and he comes in the room or the bathroom behind her and there's a light shining like from a phone or something, and I guess he's videotaping her. She turns around because she's kind of saying like she doesn't really care for the shoes. She kind of wants to just keep whatever shoes she had on before. And so when she turns around, she's like, like, what are you doing? Like, she didn't know he was shining a light. But then she realizes also that his robe is open and his thing is out. He was supposed to be in the other room getting dressed to go to the damn party. So she's like, Rome, like, your robe. And he's like, must have just came undone. And I'm like, yeah, no, dirty. Okay, so he's very much giving pervert creep vibes right now. Keyshawn is turned away. She doesn't want to look at him. He's supposed to be her manager, but it looks like has other plans for tonight. Rome was like, you don't like what you see. And Keyshawn is like uncomfortable. And she's like, Rome, like, come on, we're going to be late. Basically using a coping mechanism right now because she feels like she's in a very unsafe, unpredictable position. And so Rome approaches her and says, you know them niggas ain't gonna start on time. And he still has not done up his robe. So he approaches her and he's getting close to her. She's wearing a stripper outfit, so obviously she's not wearing too many clothes and she feels vulnerable, as she should. So Rome starts rubbing on her and she's like, Rome, what are you doing? And he's like, nah, every bitch get a chance to make their dreams come true, but look at you, your pretty mug everywhere, yada 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 yada. Let me just cut to the chase here. Rome is making Keyshawn very uncomfortable. He is assaulting her in this scene and he does not stop. So Rome is telling her like, I could do so much more for you if you would just let me. He's bringing in the pimp talk. He's trying to coerce her into having sex with him. It's very much disgusting. She's like, Rome, stop. Like, absolutely not. And he's like, oh, so you don't want to strip for me? As like, sir, do your job. Rome never went into this thing with Keyshawn for the right reasons, obviously. He had an ulterior motive this whole entire time and was waiting for the opportunity to pounce. He's offended that she don't want to sleep with him. Rome starts degrading her and basically telling her like she's just a stripper. And she starts doing this monologue about how she is so good at what she does that she makes people feel like they're in control when she's the one that holds all the power. She knows how to get free. She knows how to make it shine, all these things. And she's close to tears right now because she can't even believe that she's in this position. So Miss Mississippi's like, I don't do this, because he starts telling her that all the deals and stuff that he has on the table for her is pending and she owes him. Keep in mind, she just brought this man a bag of cash when he didn't do anything. She is the talent, period. He's like, the hell you mean? And he starts following her out the bathroom. So he starts calling Keyshawn out about Memphis and how he saw her and Lil Murda kissing, and that he knows that Lil Murda didn't like it. He was disgusted by that kiss. He exposes the fact that Big Teak and Lil Murda are gay. And I was like, oh, not Rome be knowing. So not only does he know they're gay, he has a video of them having sex on his phone. I said, oh no. So he bugged the room, child. This is messy boots, okay? Fast forward, he tries to RAPE Keyshawn, but Keyshawn fights him off and just runs out his hotel room and runs and starts banging on Wodie's door. So then it pans back to her knocking on her father's door when she was pregnant with the baby. This is obviously after Derek choked her. She's wearing the same nightgown and everything. Her stepmom is telling her she can't stay there. And I'm like, wow. this is cold. Cold. So then it pans back to Wody opening the door for her in the hotel, and he's like, what the heck? What's going on? Why are you here? Why you look like this? Like, what's going on? She spills the beans to him about what just happened in Rome's room. Keep in mind, Keyshawn's whole titty is out, okay? Rome and ripped her outfit. So her boob is out on one side. She's looking a mess. She tells Wody that Rome showed her a video of Big Teak and Lil Murda, and he knows everything. And so Wody finna handle it, okay? They then jump back into the olden days, and Keyshawn returns home to Derek, and there's flowers everywhere in the nursery, like he's apologizing, and I'm like, this is all learned behavior, and it's actually quite disturbing. Of course Derek apologizes. He says he'll never do it again, and I'm like, yeah, that's a damn lie. So then it jumps into modern day, and Keyshawn returns home from the tour, but she's early. Derek is home with the two babies. Something is off with her son. She's like tickling her son, and her son is fussing. She wasn't supposed to return home this early, but she had to because obviously what happened with Rome. And so she makes up an excuse and tells Derek like they're just taking a pause for now. They're gonna go on the tour after. So in the next scene, Keyshawn takes Jaden, her son, to the doctor, and his elbow is dislocated. The doctor says it's completely normal for kids his age to dislocate their elbows sometimes. Keyshawn knows something is wrong, obviously, because she knows the man is abusive. There's another doctor in the room, and Jaden's shirt is kind of lifted, and there are bruises, like intense bruises all over this baby's back. Keyshawn is stunned because she feels guilty as a mom that she left her child with Derek, knowing his history, knowing that she's been, but she felt she had to do it because she's really trying to escape this man. And I don't think she ever thought that he would abuse the children. I don't know why, because he was literally being abused even in high school. She gets a sling for his arm. She brings him back home, and then she puts him in the room, and she then goes to confront Derek about the baby's arm, and the baby's only 3. And Derek admits that the child is driving him crazy. He doesn't know what else to do. He says that Keyshawn's not there with him and blah, 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 all these things, making excuses as to why he abused a 3-year-old. So before Derek admits to it, he obviously denies it, saying he never dislocated the child's elbow. But then he ended up having to admit it. And Keyshawn is like, you can beat on me, you cannot touch my children. And before we know it, he smacks her or punches her. Her nose is bleeding, mouth is bleeding, whatever. He was literally dragging her across the floor, talking about, I haven't told you, I haven't told you, I haven't told you, all these things. And I'm like, sir, you need to be in jail. He needs anger management, and he needs jail. He needs to be thrown under the jail. And then all of a sudden, he has her pinned up against the wall, and he grabs the iron because he was getting ready to leave the house. So the iron is still hot, and he's holding it to her face, to the point where this lady is screaming out, crying, anywhere but my face, anywhere but my face, anywhere but my face. Burn my body, do not burn my face. Obviously, that's her bread and butter, that's her money. And this scene was very, 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 very scary and toxic, and like, ooh child, it was a lot. So I understand exactly, this was more so why they put the trigger warning at the beginning, but like, they compacted a lot of things into this one episode just about Keyshawn. Also showing a pattern of Keyshawn doesn't have a steady relationship with any man in her life. So from her father to her first love, Derek, to Rome, every man has tried to hurt her in some way or has hurt her in some way. And it all starts at home. So in the last and final scene of the night, we see Wody, this black king. Okay. We see Wody, and he shows up at like Rome's spot to talk to him about the tour. When he gets into the back room, it's just him and Rome, and they're talking, and Rome is addicted to damn cocaine. So Wody's like, I brought you like a special something. So he gives him a valve of some blow, and when he passed it to him, my exact words were, I hope that's fentanyl. That's what I said. So he passes it to him. Rome kind of sensed that it could be something bad. So he tells Wody, you hit it first, my nigga. So he already had some lines out. And so the last line that he put down was obviously the bad drugs. So Wody kind of hesitates and he acts like he's gonna go for that line, but he goes for a different line. I was like, really? I'm like, is Rome not gonna notice that he didn't take the line that he put down? Rome is all giddy that Wody took some of the blow first, and then he takes the line that Wody brought him. So Wody starts talking to Rome, and he's like trying to figure out what's gonna happen with Keyshawn not being on the last leg of the tour, and Rome is acting clueless, like he doesn't know what happened. He knows exactly what happened. So long story short, they're talking about the tour or whatever and what they're gonna change now that Keyshawn's gone. And Wody starts saying to Rome, you ever see somebody die before? Basically, Wody is there walking Rome to the other side, to the side of death. Wody slowly tells him that he gave him fentanyl. And he actually is asking him about the video that he has on his phone of Little Murda and Big Teak. Before we know it, this nigga didn't drop down dead, okay? And that's how the episode ended. I was like, I know that's right, Wody, because somebody needed to take Rome out. He did too much this episode. He been doing too much, but like he did way too much this episode, and I was happy to see him go. So pretty much Wody was the hero this episode, and he took out Rome, and we're very happy about this. That was it for this week's episode of P-Valley. I love you all so much, and I will definitely see you in the next one.